So in 2025, what you going to do different that's going to change your life as an ex-convict and as a felon? What you going to do in 2025 different that you've never done before? You see, because if you keep doing the same things over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same results. If you keep hanging around in the hood, right, with the same people who don't want nothing out of life, then you're going to keep getting the same things out of life. And that's what I think a lot of people's problems are, who are ex-cons. They refuse to do something different. They still doing the same thing. You can't get out, be on paper, and you want to go chill at the club or chill with your friends, man. If your friends aren't going where you want to go, then you might have to cut them off. And that don't mean nothing wrong. That don't mean you wish them ill will. That don't mean you wish them anything bad. It just means that you're more mature and you have a plan and a purpose, and you laid out a map, right? You wrote strategies down. You said, I'm going to fulfill these things and I'm going to accomplish these goals. And one of them is to get a permanent job and to, get a stable system set up in your life so you can build a new life for yourself once you've been released from a long term of incarceration. And that's going to take some time. And so you just got to commit to, doing the right things. You got to focus on that. Before I ever got out, I had plans set up. I was already in my mind preparing for the things that I wanted to do once I got out. And I knew that one thing I didn't want to do was go back to jail. Yes, I had a couple times where I went hung out in some places where I shouldn't have, but it wasn't a consistency, you know what I mean? And I course corrected real quick. I said, hold up, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I really shouldn't be on Bourbon Street. Hey, that's another story. I met my wife on Bourbon Street. So, you don't know divinely where you're supposed to be to have the destiny that God has laid forward for you. You know what I mean? That's going to take time, effort, and understanding on who you are to even recognize what God's trying to do in your life like that. So yeah, I was on Bourbon Street, and that's where I met my wife. But you better know that you got your mind right, that you don't fall back into the way of life that you once knew. And because you can get caught up in a revolving circle. You could wind up back in jail. You could wind up back locked up. And it's going to be on you. It ain't going to be on the man. We have control over our lives. Figure out what you're going to do. Map it out. Put it on paper. Come up with a plan. And have mile markers for your plan, right? Saying, as I go throughout the year, these are the things that I want to accomplish. It might be to get a career instead of just a job, right? Because when you get out, you are looking for employment off the bat, right? So maybe you're not going to find your career. You're just getting temporary employment, a temporary job. And that temporary job is not going to be the place where you are forever, but you have to build a resume up. And when you build that resume up, it's going to give you a better, firm foundation as you go forward to talk to potential employers and tell them about yourself and say, look, I got a history of doing this. And you've shown a history of showing up on a job on time. That's important. A lot of employers are just looking for somebody who's going to show up and be on time and be there when they're supposed to be there. They're not expecting you to know everything. They're expecting you to gain knowledge, but knowledge comes over time. Mainly, they just want you to show up. They want you to show up at work and be there because they're paying for somebody to be there. They're going to show you what they need you to do. And be patient. Don't get mad at your supervisor. Look, you're going to work for supervisors and managers who are idiots and pricks. That's just a reality. They're going to treat you bad. Remember, it's temporary. As long as they don't disrespect you, I'm saying treat you bad, they're just not going to be good supervisors. That's just a reality. They don't like you for whatever the reason. I don't know. But don't let that discourage you from learning what you can learn at this particular company. Grow in every area you can. Besides just showing up on time, try to learn a skill. Try to learn something that you didn't know before, such as how to use technology. For me, technology was one of the biggest things. It's still something I struggle with, but I'm better than I was before, And I have a solid resume now. I can get a lot of good jobs now, So you don't want to get discouraged. Be patient. Don't get so hard on yourself to where you're like, nobody's going to give me a chance, to where you just give up and you start going back to that lifestyle again. Don't do it, man. Don't start stealing. Remember, even if you can't get a job, don't steal. Don't sell drugs. Those are dead end, careers. And they're just wrong. You still want to do that? and you're 30 something years old? No, you don't. You got to be better than that. You know, you can't keep doing the same things over and over and expect to get different results, because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to work. You have to be better than that. And that's on you. That's not on nobody. That's on us, right? So do better in that area first. You understand what I'm saying? Once you get your employment down and once you get a consistent job, then you need to start focusing on another step. And that step may be investing. You may be renting. It may be to start saving money so you can buy a home. These are all the things you need to start thinking as someone who is reintroducing themselves into society. And once you 2, 3, and 4 years in, these things should start taking root, right? You should, at the time you 3 and 4 years in to your freedom from incarceration, you may be off of paper, you may not. Some people still gonna be on paper. You know, you may have a decade to do on paper or more. I don't know how that's gonna work. For each person is different. But by this time, you 3 or 4 years out, you have been reintroduced into society. And at this point, you should have some roots that are beginning to go deep into the ground. And with these deeper roots are coming deeper growth into society. Now you're really a contributing member. You're a productive member to society. Like I said, this took time. This is something that's going to take years to get to. Now you're at this point. You may be already at this point as I'm speaking and talking now to you, right? And if you are, you need to come up with a plan to get your own home and to invest your money. You need to start studying things like the stock market. You need to start studying, you know, find out if your company has a 401k. If they do have a 401k at your company, and whatever percentage they're matching, you need to at minimum be putting that percentage in. Because that's what I did. You got to be taking advantage of a free match. If they match 5%, put 5% of your pay. And that should, honestly, you should be doing that right off the bat. But I get it if you're not. And it's right, you know, your first couple years out, you may not be able to do that because you just don't have nowhere to live. You're paycheck to paycheck. I get it, right? If you can, and if you're blessed and you have a parent or somebody who's letting you live in their house, then you really need to be saving your money. You really need to be wise with your investments, right? This is common sense type stuff. But of course, most of us was never taught these things, right? I wasn't taught these things. I had to learn these things out on my own, you know? I'm almost 2 decades out. And I'm still learning. Listen, the record that you have and your convictions can still come back. People are still going to try to hold them against you. There's still mannerisms and ways that you have that will always be with you, that may never leave, right? It's okay. You got to embrace who you are too. You know what I mean? So you can't beat yourself up over everything. You know, I still have an aggressive personality, not to the point to where I want to get on anybody, but when I talk, sometimes I use my hands and my voice kind of picks it up and people get offended by that. So I had to grow over. I'm way better than I used to be, but that's just who I'm going to be, right? It's just part of who I am. You know, my environments and everywhere I've been my entire life has been around alpha males. That's what prison is. Right. So I'm going to have this natural way that I talk about myself that not everybody's going to understand nor like. Right. And I'm going to have to correct that from time to time. And you may have to do the same thing, too. So in 2025, as convicts, ex-cons, we got to support each other and do a better job and really be positive and recognize there are pluses and minuses. There are pros and cons to our lives. Right. Look, stay positive. Keep doing what you're doing. And while you're at it, go and give a like and subscribe to the Pen and the Shank, where we talk about all things crime and prison related. We're going to have a lot of things coming along this channel as I get it up and running. And as I said, support a fellow convict, support somebody who's been in the system, and give me a like and subscribe. Like I said, man, support this channel. Go watch some of the videos I got. Some of them, I'm talking about this very topic. Others are more entertaining. But there's something to learn and gain from each other. And so we have to support each other and not knock each other. You see a lot of these channels where they just beating each other up all the time and they still trying to poke their chest out for stuff that's just not important, right? Your life is important. You have a family and you have a destiny and a purpose. In order to fulfill that, you're going to have to come to grips with a lot of things. And we'll talk about a lot of them. Share in the comments some stuff that you would like us to talk about on the Pen and the Shank. And man, have a blessed one. And you know what? Let's get it.